Your ex regrets that fast rebound, even if they'll never say it. They moved on so fast. They posted photos with someone new before you even had time to breathe. They looked happy, free, untouched by the pain you're still carrying. And for a while you wondered, did they ever care? Was I that easy to replace? But here's what most people won't tell you. That lightning-fast rebound, it's rarely a sign of healing. In fact, it's often the opposite, a desperate move to avoid facing the emotional aftermath of the breakup. Your ex might never say it out loud, they might not message you with an apology, but if you pay close attention, the signs are there. They regret how quickly they jumped into someone else's arms. In this video, we're going to break down exactly why that rebound wasn't what they hoped, how regret slowly creeps in whether they admit it or not, and what this all means for you as you try to make sense of everything. Let's get into it. Breakups hurt, even for the person who ends things. And sometimes, instead of sitting with that pain, your ex runs from it, straight into someone else's arms. But why do they move on so fast? The truth is, it's often not about the new person at all. It's about escape, distraction, ego, and fear. First, there's emotional avoidance. Jumping into a rebound lets your ex dodge the heartbreak. They don't have to face the grief, the silence, or the regret because they've already filled that void with someone new. Then, there's the ego boost. After a breakup, people often feel unwanted or rejected. So, a rebound becomes quick validation. See, someone still wants me, it feels good temporarily, but it's shallow. There's also the need to justify the breakup. By flaunting a new relationship, your ex tries to prove, to you, to themselves, and to everyone else, that they made the right choice, even if deep down, they're not sure. And finally, fear of being alone. Loneliness is uncomfortable, so instead of sitting with it and healing, they reach for the closest emotional crutch. So while it may look like they're thriving, the rebound is often a coping mechanism, not a sign of growth. And what starts as a distraction can turn into disappointment fast. To really understand what's happening in your ex's mind, you have to look beyond the surface because rebounds are rarely about love. They're about psychology. Let's start with attachment styles. If your ex has an avoidant attachment, they might feel relieved after the breakup. They enjoy the space, the freedom, the idea of starting fresh. This is what therapists call separation elation. It feels like freedom, but it's usually short-lived. They tell themselves this new person is everything you weren't, more exciting, less complicated, maybe just easier. But that illusion fades. Because what they're chasing isn't a person, it's relief from emotional discomfort. Then there's emotional displacement. Your ex still has feelings, but instead of processing them, they transfer them to someone else. This new partner becomes a placeholder, a distraction from the real work of healing. There's also something called narrative control. By jumping into a rebound, they take control of the story. They can say, I'm fine, I'm moving on, I've found better, even if that's not entirely true. It's a defense mechanism, one that often cracks with time. Psychologically, rebounders are often trying to rewrite the end of the story. But unresolved emotions don't just vanish. They resurface, usually right when the honeymoon glow starts to fade. Breakups don't hit all at once, especially for the person who ended it. There's a timeline, a pattern, and if your ex jumped into a rebound, chances are they're riding that emotional roller coaster right now. Stage 1, relief and euphoria. This usually lasts the first few weeks after the breakup. They feel free. They feel empowered. The rebound feels exciting, like a clean slate. In this phase, they're not thinking about what they lost. They're chasing the high of something new. Stage 2 cracks begin to show. Around the 2 to 3 month mark, the novelty wears off. Arguments pop up, compatibility issues surface, and memories of your relationship start creeping back in. They begin to compare. Was I actually happier before? Stage 3, doubt and regret. This can hit hard. They realize the rebound wasn't built on real connection. It was built on avoidance. They start wondering if they made a mistake. And that freedom they were celebrating, it starts to feel like loneliness. Stage 4, the epiphany. If the rebound falls apart or even if it drags on unhappily, they're left with nothing to distract them anymore. This is when regret becomes real. They miss what they had. They may not say it out loud, but internally, they're wondering if they threw away something good. This timeline doesn't play out the same for everyone, but more often than not, the fast-moving rebound ends faster, and your ex is left facing what they tried to avoid all along: the emotional consequences of letting you go. So at first, the rebound feels like magic. Your ex is caught up in dopamine, novelty, and excitement. Everything just feels right. Until, well, it doesn't. Then come the small disappointments. The new partner isn't as compatible as they thought. Little habits start to annoy them. That spark? It fades faster than they expected. Arguments creep in, not over major issues but over petty things, like a mismatch in values, communication gaps, or unmet expectations. Suddenly it's no longer fun and effortless. It's work. And during this phase, something else sneaks in: comparison. Your ex begins to measure the new person against you. How they talk, how they react, how they love. Even if they won't admit it, they notice the differences, and sometimes honestly they don't like what they see. They might even try to convince themselves it's fine. They post happy pictures, they talk about how great things are. But deep down they're sensing it. This isn't what they thought it would be, and here's the kicker. Because they moved too fast, they never really healed. So now, old emotions from the breakup are mixing with new frustration. And instead of feeling better, they're confused, irritable, and disappointed. It's at this point that the cracks in the rebound relationship are no longer invisible. They're felt, they're seen, and for your ex, the illusion starts breaking apart. Once the cracks appear, the internal conflict begins. Your ex starts wondering, did I make a mistake? Was it really so bad with them? Why am I still thinking about my ex? This is when regret quietly takes root. It doesn't show up as a big emotional breakdown. It shows up in small creeping thoughts. Memories of good times with you resurface. They compare the emotional safety you provided with the friction they're now feeling. They might replay old conversations, miss your sense of humor, or notice how the rebound just lacks depth or connection. And here's where nostalgia kicks in. But it's not just any nostalgia, it's selective, rose-tinted, emotionally loaded. Suddenly, they remember the comfort of your voice, your support, the shared moments they once took for granted. They may not tell anyone, they might even try to suppress it. But inside, the emotional high of the rebound is being replaced by quiet discomfort and the growing thought that maybe they let go of someone who actually mattered. At this stage, many exes double down on the rebound, trying to prove it's still working, but that effort often backfires. The more they force it, the more they realize it isn't fixing what's broken inside. Regret has arrived, and whether or not they show it, they're beginning to feel the weight of their decision. Eventually, the rebound reaches a turning point. The excitement fades, the comparisons grow louder, and your ex is forced to confront something they've been avoiding. They're not happier. They just moved on too fast. This is the silent epiphany. They might not say it to you, they might not say it to anyone, but inside the truth becomes clear. The rebound wasn't the upgrade they thought it would be. They start seeing the relationship for what it really was: a coping mechanism, a band-aid, a way to avoid feeling the loss of you. Now, without the glow of something new, they feel the full weight of their choices. The regret becomes real. Not just about the rebound, but about losing you. But here's the thing, they still won't admit it. Why? Because pride gets in the way. Because reaching out feels vulnerable. Because saying "I regret leaving you" means facing their own immaturity. So they stay silent. They might check your social media, they might ask mutual friends about you, heck, they might even send a casual "hey" text. But the full truth, it stays locked behind their ego. Still, the silence doesn't mean the regret isn't there. It just means they're not ready to own it, yet. They won't say it outright, but their behavior often speaks louder than words. If you're wondering whether your ex regrets that fast rebound, there are subtle signs to look out for. Hot and cold communication. One day they're reaching out, liking your posts, maybe even sending a message. The next they go silent or act distant. That kind of emotional whiplash usually signals some inner conflict, increased sensitivity or irritability. If they seem easily annoyed when you come up in conversation, it could be because your name stirs emotions they just don't want to deal with. social media distancing. They might unfollow or mute you, not because they're over you, but because seeing your life hurts. They don't want reminders of what they left behind, lingering around your circle. They show up where you might be. They talk to your friends more than usual. They're not over you. They're orbiting. Breadcrumbs. They send a just thinking of you text. They like an old photo. They ask about memories. It's not random, it's hesitation, nostalgia, and guilt bleeding through. Their rebound fades from view. Less posts. No more tagging. No more couple selfies. Or maybe their status quietly changes back to single. That silence is a sign the relationship isn't what it seemed. And then there are emotional slips. Comments like, "I thought I'd feel better by now," or forced excitement when talking about the new partner. That overcompensation, it often masks regret. One or two of these things might mean nothing, but when they start stacking up, it paints a pretty clear picture. They may never say "I miss you," but their actions often reveal the truth they're too afraid to admit. Regret doesn't look the same on everyone, and when it comes to rebounds, men and women often experience that regret in very different ways. Let's start with men. Culturally, men are often taught to stay stoic, to move on quickly, and not show vulnerability. So instead of processing the breakup, many dive straight into distractions, casual dating, partying, or a fast rebound. At first, they seem fine, maybe even thrilled to be single again, but that emotional delay catches up. The regret usually hits later once the distractions lose their shine, and because pride plays such a big role, many men struggle to admit they feel any regret at all, even to themselves. Now women often go through it differently. After a breakup, many women seek emotional support. They cry, talk it out, reflect, and while the pain is often immediate and intense, they tend to process it sooner and more deeply. So, if a woman rebounds quickly, it might be for validation or emotional comfort, but she's often more aware of what she's doing and why. If regret comes, it might arrive earlier, and she's more likely to confide in friends or face it head-on. That said, it's not always about gender. Attachment styles play a huge role. Avoidant personalities, regardless of gender, tend to move on fast, only to feel regret later. While anxious types might hold on too long or rebound emotionally while still clinging to the past. So yes, there are trends, but ultimately, regret is human. And whether they're male, female, avoidant, or anxious, your ex is not immune to it, especially if they rushed into something new to avoid the pain of losing you. So what now? Knowing your ex might regret the rebound can feel like power, but it's a power that only matters if you use it wisely. First, don't chase. Even if you sense their regret, resist the urge to reach out. Texting them, checking in, or trying to reopen the door usually pushes them further into the rebound. Let them sit in the silence they created. Second, stick to no contact. This isn't about manipulation, it's about emotional space. No contact gives your ex time to feel your absence and reflect without interference, and it gives you space to heal without false hope clouding your growth. Third, don't obsess. Avoid checking their social media. Don't ask friends for updates. Don't compare yourself to the new person. What you see online is curated. It's not the full truth, and it's not worth your peace. Fourth, don't seek revenge rebounds. Trying to make them jealous by jumping into something new rarely works, and often just makes you feel worse. Healing comes from authenticity, not from proving a point. And finally, focus inward. Regret or not, your worth isn't tied to their realization. If they come back, it should be because they've grown, not because they're lonely or confused. If they don't come back, you still win, because you chose yourself. You protected your peace, and you didn't let someone else's confusion drag you down. Here's the truth. Whether or not your ex regrets the rebound, you still have to move forward. And how you choose to heal, that's where your real power lives. Start with yourself. Focus on your mental and emotional health. That means cutting off digital distractions, saying no to late-night spirals, and stepping into habits that make you feel whole again. Reclaim your energy. Pick up old hobbies. Reconnect with friends. Work out. Read more. Create something. Anything that reminds you that your identity is so much bigger than a breakup. Invest in your future. This is the time to build, to level up, not for revenge, not to win the breakup, but to become the version of you that doesn't need someone to come back. If your ex does reach out one day, you'll be grounded, healed, and clear about what you want. And if they don't, you'll still be proud of who you've become. Because the real win isn't that they regret the rebound. It's that you use the pain as fuel to grow, to evolve, to rise. You're not just moving on, you're moving up. You may never hear the words, "I regret leaving you." But silence doesn't mean peace. And pride doesn't mean they don't feel it. The truth is, most rebound regrets live quietly. In late-night thoughts, in half-deleted texts, in the moments when their new partner just doesn't compare. But here's what matters more than their regret. What will you do with yours? Will you keep waiting for validation? Or will you let go of the need for closure from someone who ran from their own emotions? Because their regret, that's theirs to carry. You don't need to chase it, prove it, or wait for it. You've already survived the worst part, being left. Now it's time to stop looking back and start becoming the person you were always meant to be. They might come back, they might not, but either way, your future doesn't depend on them anymore. Let their regret stay where it belongs, behind you, and walk forward free. Let's keep this conversation going. Like this video, drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe.